In this lesson, we look at the concept of outs. If you have played any serious poker, chances are 1. You play much better than I do, and 2. You are familiar with the concept of outs. That is, the number of good cards that can improve your hand. For instance, if you are drawing to an inside straight, you need, for example, a 7 or a queen, and that gives you 8 outs because there are 4 sevens and 4 queens in the deck. If you know how many outs you have, then you know the probability of drawing a good card. We can do the same thing in Spider Solitaire. We might say the probability of drawing a good card is 30%. Or if we turned over 2 cards, then the probability that at least one card is good becomes 52%, and so on. One can think of this as an average case scenario instead of a worst case scenario. Recall that in a previous lesson, the minimum guaranteed turnovers, or MGT, is the number of cards that would appear in the worst case scenario, but here we are thinking about what happens on average. So let's study the initial game state. In this position, we have a minimum of 3 guaranteed turnovers. If you are not sure of this, you are welcome to pause the video before continuing. Let us say that a good card is one that improves our MGT. For instance, the 2 of clubs is good because we can move the 8 of hearts onto the 2 of clubs. Of course, 2 of hearts is even better because then we can build in suit as well as turning over a card in column 6. But all 2s are good. Similarly, a 6 of hearts is not good. Even though we can build in suit with the 6 of hearts and 7 of hearts, it doesn't improve our MGT. To compute the probability the next card is good, we need to go through all the possibilities from ace to king. So, is ace a good card? Is 2 a good card? Is 3 a good card? And so on. For simplicity, I will assume each rank from ace to king is equally likely. So for example, even though we have 3 queens and no kings in this game state, I will pretend that king and queen are still equally likely. I will also ignore suits, so let us pretend that the next card must be a spade, since there are no spades visible. Note that since we have 3 guaranteed turnovers, we have 3 chances to expose a good card before being forced to deal another row of 10 cards. For purposes of this exercise, I am only interested in the probability that the first card exposed is good. Your mission, which you must choose to accept, is to compute the probability that the next card is good, assuming it's a spade and assuming any rank from ace to king is equally likely. Again, I will give you a minute instead of 30 seconds. In this position, the good cards are 2, 3, 5, 9, 10, Jack and King. All the other cards are bad. So that's a probability of 7 over 13 of getting a good card. A few points of interest. So any 5 is a very good card since we get 2 extra turnovers. However, the definition of good card we agreed on was that it improved the MGT, and it didn't matter how much it improved by. So we can only count the 5 once, not twice. Most of the good cards are ones we haven't seen before. So 2, 3, 5, 9, 10 and King do not appear in the starting position. Jack does appear, but it's still a good card because we have plenty of queens to go around. Most of the bad cards are ones we have already seen. You might have noticed I said card X was good, card Y was bad, before I made a move. In practice, we must choose a move before turning over a card, and this might affect our calculations. For instance, suppose we moved the 7 of hearts onto the 8 of diamonds. Then the 9 is no longer a good card because we can't shift the 8 and 7 onto the 9. So our outs would decrease by 1. Of course, if we knew beforehand the next card would be a 9, then perhaps we would choose a different move. Fortunately, in this case, we can shift the Jack of Hearts onto the Queen of Hearts. And that is in suit, so we don't have to worry about losing an out, as described before. Well done if you said the answer was 7 over 13. Bonus points if you wrote a different answer and managed to prove my intended answer of 7 over 13 is incorrect. Let's move the Jack of Hearts onto the Queen of Hearts. And our next card is 7 of Clubs. Oh, for Fred's sake!